For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of day 2 of USC's spring camp. Now, one of the more newsworthy things to come out of today's practice was that Greg Johnson, the cornerback who Clay Helton confirmed was in the transfer portal on Tuesday, was on the practice field on Thursday, which must mean that he's out of the transfer portal. We didn't get to talk to Clay Helton today. They're doing some different media things, so we didn't get to talk to Clay to confirm that. We did talk to assistant coaches. Greg Burns essentially confirmed that Greg Johnson is back. But Dan, what are you taking away from that new development?
Well, he has to be back. I don't think anybody's going to let guys that are in the transfer portal practice. So, and that was what we understood going into the spring, that no one in the transfer portal is going to practice. So he's here. He went from the transfer portal to the GU gate, and there he is. He's out there, and just one guy makes a big difference. But he wasn't the only guy out there. Bubba Bolden went through the transfer portal, went through the GU gate. He was out there in street clothes watching. Obviously, it wasn't Bubba's choice, the way everything developed, but he was out there too. So an interesting kind of a start to day 2 with those two guys there.
Yeah, Greg Burns was a little coy about it. He didn't want to say the full process of what happened with Greg Burns. When we asked Clancy Pendergast about it, he said that's a question for Clay Helton. We will be able to talk to Clay on Saturday, so we'll get more on that story there. But day 2 of practice, what did you see, Dan? What was your evaluation? Was there any change from day 1?
Well, and the other change is we don't talk today. We didn't talk to any of the players. So
yeah.
The availability were all the assistant coaches, which is a good thing because there are so many of them. So and a lot of things to talk about. But I thought, and I agree with Graham Harrell, they got a lot better from day 1 to day 2. And day 1 was good. I mean, day 1 was a good day 1. But I think you really started seeing guys picking up stuff that they want them to do by day 2. I think there were 2 flags thrown in all of the 11-on-11 stuff. So it was an impressive day. I thought, the quarterbacks are doing things the way they want them to do them. They were going at one another. I mean, they weren't, they're just helmets, no pads. But they were working, like defense was working so hard on stripping the ball and taking it away that you couldn't tell in some of those plays that they weren't tackling. I mean, they were really going after it. A lot of excitement, a lot of, and you can kind of tell if they're just trying to be excited or trying to make noise, and that wasn't the case at all. Yeah. I mean, they were really having fun and really into it. I mean, it's a noticeable step up from a year ago. Yeah. I don't think there's even any question at all.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, today was essentially an assistant coach palooza. We got to talk to all the assistant coaches, new and returning. We were in separate scrums, so we kind of got the whole range of assistant coaches. How do you want to do this, Dan? Who stood out to you most, first off?
Well, I was really impressed with Chad K. We'll just call him Coach K. And the new D-line coach. And he said, not going to talk about what they did before or how, they coached him up. But one of the really impressive things is the first time the D-line went against the O-line, they did all sorts of quick feet drills and stopping and starting and coming out of their stance and just, really stuff that really tells you who are their athletes and how well are they going to be able to play. Well, we didn't ever get to see them do that kind of stuff, that quick-footed, big guys doing stuff really quickly. I think they basically, everything you see them doing, all the drills and pretty much when they get into 9-on-7 or 11-on-11 is about, being quick and getting there and doing things really quickly and very fundamentally sound. But I thought he's very impressed with this group that he's got to coach. He said, 2 days and all of that, but he talked about the best group he's ever had, a group we coached at the University of Utah. I think all 4 of them went on to the NFL. And he said, the talent level is that same talent level that he's got to coach. So he did a really great job. He talked a lot about Drake Jackson, who he had a nice one-on-one with Drake, in terms of coaching him up and stance and alignment and all of that right in the middle of 11-on-11. And he's real excited about, getting to coach Drake Jackson, who just really looks like he belongs.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of defensive linemen, we got to talk to defensive coordinator Clancy Pendergrass about the defensive linemen and how essentially the front seven has been evolving so far this spring.
I did ask, how are they going to look different? Are they going to look different this year? Kind of, I was talking about technique and scheme and all that. And Clancy the answer was, to the question, are they going to look different this year? Clancy said, I sure hope so. I think they know that they had more talent they didn't get nearly as much out of that group as they thought they should. They still got a bunch of talent. They really feel like they're too deep. They're just going to, I think, expect them to move better, to get upfield more, to get past the numbers, which Coach K kept talking about, which means get upfield past the line of scrimmage and play quick and play fast. And he said they're going to work on, he said, you can't have stalled feet. You got to keep your feet moving. And that did get him in trouble last year, where you'd see guys make the initial hit, but you wouldn't see that second, third, fourth, fifth step where you stayed alive in the play. The thought here with the defensive line is they've got to have gap control. And they didn't always have gap control last year and play the run really well. So I like, what their theory is, from the defensive front, because they got the guys to do the job up there.
Yeah, continuing the theme of the importance of feet, offensive coordinator Graham Harrell also stressed the importance of the quarterbacks and their feet and their placement. What did he have to say in his scrum?
He said the thing we talked to him about after practice one was their feet and their reads. He said it's very simple. If your feet are right, he said they can all throw the ball. Their feet are right, if their read is right, they're going to throw the ball to the right place at the right time. But very much emphasis on feet. And he said, I'm not trying to say about, how they were coached before or whatever, but he said, when you've got it on tape, which we did after the first practice, he said, you can really work with them on their feet. And he said he thought they picked it up just tremendously from day one to day two. And I thought they all had a good day. What you end up seeing after you see them do as many reps as they do, many throws, as many opportunities, is they look a little interchangeable. I mean, one quarterback looks like another because they're making the same kind of throws and reading the opportunities the same way. It's kind of a neat system. I know he had to use 3 quarterbacks last year because of injuries, and that they all played well. So you kind of get a sense of how that's happening when you watch it in practice. But honestly, I was thinking we were down in the media pen, and you almost get a picture in your mind of how the play is going to develop, having seen enough of them. I mean, this is only the second practice, and you get a sense of, okay, and then you see the quarterbacks kind of slowing things down and allowing plays to develop. They've got a lot of crossing routes and a lot of, guys breaking at different levels, and you're looking for that one guy that comes open. And you do get a kind of a sense of, you see what's going on. Well, this is just day 2. And if we're seeing it and we're not even doing it, you can see how it becomes this sort of muscle memory and just a sense of seeing what is going to happen, and you have an advantage over the defense. So I think Graham was really impressed. He said, you can watch a film and tell how good they are maybe, what they can do, how good the receivers are now. He said, what you don't see on film, what you can't, is if you're coming in here as a new coach, how quickly they're going to pick things up and how smart they are about it. He said, just extremely impressed with how fast they picked it up. It certainly looks like they're picking it up really quickly.
Yeah, as far as the quarterback competition goes, we had some questions from viewers. Is this a real quarterback competition? Did Graham say anything about said competition?
No, I think when he got that question, which was so predictable, his eyes sort of crossed. He was like, it's day 2. Come on, we're not doing it. Is trying to get them all. And he said, the guy that's going to win is the guy that can execute consistently and just keep making the right reads and the right throws. So no, he's that's probably the last thing, but there will be probably someone asked that question every single day.
Much to their chagrin, I bet. As far as injury updates go, Britton Allen, the early enrollee, got a little banged up during a one-on-one matchup with a wide receiver. It looked like he might have tweaked his groin. He's also holding his hand. He was evaluated by trainers and did not return. Christian Rector left early. Not sure if that's an injury or just a class. But any other injuries or tidbits stand out to you?
I think maybe Devin Williams was playing in the air a lot, and I think he didn't quite catch one and came down and sort of, I was looking at his wrist and looking at his, but I didn't notice anything, other than, what you talked about. But they're going quick. I mean, they're going fast and hard, and it's not obvious that anybody, came up lame or has an injury problem. It was not obvious.
Yeah. So far, we're 2 days in. I know you can't make large generalizations so far about what you've seen, but so far it seems pretty positive and like a step up, an elevation of a USC team that we've used to see.
Well, I think one of the reasons you can say that is they really are truly keeping to their promise to keep things more simple. And if they're more simple, they can play faster. They're not they're not trying to think, what were we supposed to do on that play? Or what's that technique? And I really like that. I mean, everywhere, at every level, everything you're doing, they're trying to be more simple and be able to play faster and to be able to play more, more perfectly and execute, more correctly. And that was always the way I would like to coach. And I, always tried to coach it. Now, I was coaching high school kids, and with high school kids, that's how you really want to coach them, so that they learn by doing, and then they feel very comfortable that they can do whatever you're asking them to do in almost any situation. You don't have to change everything. Yeah. So, I think it works at every level, and I think it's so far it's looked very good in terms of how this is working with this group. They look like, Coach K said, they really want to be coached. They really like being coached. Well, that's can't ask for any more than that. And I'm not sure that would have ever been said last year. Do you think? I don't know.
I think we definitely heard that last year.
But I don't know that the players actually did that. I think there was just so much stuff that they were talking about doing. I don't know that it was fun for them to do it because it was so hard to master. Whereas this way, I think they can go out there and feel like, hey, I got better today. Or I'm better at, I got my feet right. I got my reads. I slowed down. I'm more comfortable. I think that showing them how they can get better and what it takes to get better. I'm not sure last year we ever saw them with a sense of, wow, we're getting better. Wow. If we do this, we'll keep getting better. I think that was one of the things that kind of kept the team from a sense of every week we're going to get better. The whole theme is we want to be better today than we were yesterday. I think they did do that today.
Yeah, I would agree. And to your point, Greg Burns, the defensive backs coach, talked about how they're really taking install on the defensive side slow. They only installed 2 defenses on Tuesday, 2 more on today, Thursday. So there's only 4 defenses so far that they've had. And he said, especially with a young DB core, it's so important to go slow and simpler. So they are, like you said, feeling like they're having that sense of growth each practice.
And the number 4 is a good one because Graham Harrell talked about his conversations and all that he's done with O-line coach Jim Drevedo, who has been a pro offense guy his whole career, basically. And he said, Graham said, I know he thinks I'm crazy. He's only got 4 running plays. I mean, he said, here's a guy that, comes out where there are hundreds of plays, and now he's got 4. And he thinks, man, what am I going to do with all this free time, let's say? And Graham said, the thing we're thinking about is we want to spend our time getting better at what we do, not trying to come up with new plays and new schemes. That's where we're going to spend our time, getting to be as good as we can with the plays that we're running. So it probably could not be as different a philosophy as last year.
Yeah, they call it the gumbo offense. From the gumbo offense to a simpler scheme, I think that's a good thing for as talented as USC players are.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the case. With the gumbo, you keep throwing more things in the pot.
Yeah.
And it was like, too many cooks, spoil the broth. All those kinds of, the sayings that you could have. But whatever it is, jack of all trades, master of none. You've got a number of those things that come to mind. This just sounds like the way you'd like to do it. And watching the players respond, looks like they like to do it this way.
Yeah. So it sounds like Saturday USC will put on shoulder pads for the first time. I'm not sure if it'll be a full scrimmage. It'll be scrimmage-like. What are you expecting for Saturday?
Yeah, they're talking about it like it's, real football. I mean, you talk to the assistant coaches and they're telling them, hey, Saturday it's real football. So as close as they were to making, I thought they were a little more physical today than some days last year when they were in shoulder pads.
Yeah.
So adding shoulder pads to the mix, I'm thinking probably going to be pretty physical.
Yeah.
I mean, because one of the things, they're just moving faster as groups, teams. They don't do anything slowly. So when you got, 22 guys or whatever moving as fast as they're trying to move, you're going to have some, some physicality and some collisions. And again, that's what football is all about. Certainly that's what happens in games. And why would you practice any other way than the way the game's going to be?
Yeah.
So,
agreed. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up. Just a scheduling notice. I will be at a wedding on Saturday, so there will be no incident analysis, so sorry for that. And then USC is off for a week for spring break, so you're going to have a little break between incident analysis and practice updates, but be sure to check out uscfootball.com for all of the updates, including Dan's Ghost Notes. But that's going to wrap it up for day 2 of USC spring camp. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.